What's new? What's hot? One shot. I need more. What's new?
Big shout out to all the blacks who are still alive, who have not had a knee put on their neck and who've not been subjected to the much racism that exists here in the United States of America. Big happy Juneteenth to all of you who are out there, who are listening. We are alive and we are progressing through all of this madness that continuously rears its ugly head. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. So dope.
Juneteenth. We are celebrating.
It just sounds, you know what, it hits differently now. You know what I'm saying? You know how something hit differently now?
Yes.
Juneteenth hits differently now.
That's right.
Happy Juneteenth, Robin. Yeah, all right now. Look, even Robin is smiling.
She got the
Oh my God. Well, listen, everybody. We certainly appreciate you allowing us to be a part of your Friday. Of course, it is Juneteenth, and we have a special show in store for you this evening. Looking very forward to our interview later on with Dr. Johnson, who will be participating with us. Umar, the brother, he's incredible to me. You know, a lot of people don't like some of the things, some of the controversial things that he says or talks about. And, you know, everything that people say, you shouldn't agree with everybody, but with everything someone says. Right. Even my wife. Well, except your wife.
Be careful. Be careful.
Oh, I hate to bring that one back. I hate to bring. Can we dump that? Can we dump that? No. Hey, so folks, 591-1690 is the number to connect. We need to have this continued discussions surrounding Juneteenth, as well as everything that's happening out here in the world. There are many protests that continuously are happening, even as we speak right now. There are a lot of protests, racial justice rallies that are going on across the United States of America with regards to Juneteenth. So, 591-1690, that's the number, and let's just open it up and let's talk about it.
And it's Father's Day weekend.
It is Father's Day weekend. I'm looking for, you know what, we'll talk about Father's Day during the Lit Roundtable. And just to give a little insight to the WVON listening family, the team of us, the Lit crew, we all talk, on a regular basis, and we're all texting and communicating. And we had a really great, I think, so dope.
It was really good.
I was just on the phone listening, so I was like, you know what, that would be some good stuff to talk about on the air. So the Father's Day conversation is going to be absolutely fantastic. Listen, let's go ahead and get started with. So, Juneteenth, we were talking about the police officers. Let's wrap this all together. What are we doing with that?
Okay, so of course,
that stuff you was talking about
the controversy with the CTU and Lori Lightfoot's picture in regards to the police being defunded. Right off the bat, terrible idea. Terrible idea. I understand that the police, some police can be harsh to our young people. But right now, having worked in the public schools, you need some type of security up in there. I mean, you have young people out there that are bringing weapons to school. You need somebody trained and qualified who can handle it. One of my solutions is instead of, and I realize they do put 33 million. They put 33 million into that a year for police officers to be in the public schools.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and I don't know why they need that much money. But why don't you just have the police officers teach a class? You know what I'm saying? When I went to high school, we had police officers there. I knew the police officers. We were good. We felt safe. We knew them. They joked with us. If you got the police officers in school, they should be teaching the class so the kids can get familiar with them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
The familiarity is what you. But so on the flip side of it, there are so many of our young folks, because it's different now. I was in high school, 30 years ago or something like that, 25 years ago. Something, Nonetheless, though, nowadays, the young folks are saying the police are not what they used to be. They're just not. And the second part of it is you just can't have white people, which is really what has been happening. You just can't have racists. Let me be a little bit more specific. Coming in, policing our children. They do not respect them. They do not connect with them. Everything that you just described does not happen with our kids right now in school. They are there, again, to bring order to chaos, the possible chaos.
Right.
But more than that, many of the kids, and this is very interesting, and CPS doesn't release this type of information. If I was a parent of a child going to CPS, I would want to know how many of those. When you put a complaint in against somebody, what are the complaints from the kids? Because I hear a lot of kids complaining about the police officers who are inside the schools. Yeah.
Okay, so when I was a substitute teacher at Diet over on the south side of Washington Park before they closed, I was tutoring kids in English and math and things, and the police room was right across the hall. And honestly, I would get a kid or two that came in and wanted to just challenge you and get out of order. What am I supposed to do? I can't touch him. If he touched me, I might touch him. But he never got that far. But who do I call if they disrespected the teacher?
Right.
What can you do? You have to have somebody that disrespects security if they know you don't have a weapon, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a weapon. It has to be somebody of authority that they will respect. So it has to be somebody there. I just think it's crazy to take the police officers out of school with all the school shootings that's been going on. You're in the city, unless they're going to go home with the kids and make sure their parents treat them right and take care of all their other social things that they have going on. That's a bad idea. You probably don't have to put as much money into the school. But like I said, let's have them teach a class. So every student in the class has to take the class.
All right, we'll take the call when we return.
Yeah.
I will debunk what Will just said, because I do not agree with what he
It's school,
just said.
man. It's school.
Listen.
I disagree as well.
You don't
Yeah,
be
all
in
right.
school, you teach it.
591-1690. It's the Kendall Moore Show. Let's get it. Waltz, like doing a walk.
You know I had to sashay.
Happy Juneteenth, Netta.
Happy Freedom Day.
All right.
She got her green earrings, red shirt.
You know, it's red, like green all month.
Yeah.
In
Right,
that
all
order, all day.
Hmm.
All right, so we're going to go to the phone lines. Listen, I want to remind everybody, Dr. Umar Johnson will be joining us 7:30 today. Make sure that you stick around for that, brother. I'm looking forward to hearing everything that he has to say. So we're talking about the police officers. And this whole police totalitarian state and Mayor Lori Lightfoot and all this other stuff, it really, it runs hand in hand when I say what we are experiencing now as people, black people, and the criminal justice system. We live in a capitalistic society, period, point blank. You cannot separate racism from capitalism. It's hard to do. So you have to break down the entire system in order for us to really get somewhere where we want to get to. It's going to take a lot of time. And I think everybody who's in their different lanes are going to have to participate, right? In order for us to overcome and not just be a moment. You know what I mean? Because some people, especially, some of the white America, they want this to be a moment for us.
This is just something to do right now.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let them get it out of their system.
No, this is the real deal. I want my money.
Man, listen,
All my money.
But President Trump said it's because of him.
Oh yeah, he made it very
Trump, give me
popular.
a call, man. Trump.
He might just have a point.
He's so
No, I
sad.
never disagree. No. We've been honoring Juneteenth, celebrating it, but now you have actual companies, corporations. I got an email from my bank, from Chase, and they're like, we're closing early today in honor of Juneteenth.
Right.
That has never happened.
Never happened.
It's a paid holiday, even for some companies.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this is unprecedented. So it hits real different.
It hits very, go ahead, Will.
Cory Booker and Kamala Harris recently put through a bill to try and make it a national holiday because
As
it's
it should.
celebrated in 47 states already.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. It certainly is. I had no idea. I learned that during the course of all of this civil discourse. So, yeah. Big shout to Kamala and Cory.
Cory, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. We're talking about police officers right now, being in Chicago public schools. Here's my 2 cents, because there's a lot of people who want to talk about it. Netta's rolling her eyes at Will.
Everybody's rolling their
eyes at Will. We don't know what the hell he's talking
I'm a
about.
conservocrat. That's what I am.
But here's the thing, like real talk, the other part of it is when our youth are introduced to police officers at that age for those reasons, it's already a disconnect. So why my high school, let's just real quick, let me slow down. Let's say my grammar school 8th grader just graduates. He's in high school for the first time, and the first thing that he's greeted with is police officers and metal detectors. Right?
Prison, an educational prison.
The prison, the school to
prison
pipeline.
Literally, quite literally.
Real talk. And it's so integrated into our community. Other communities do not have to go through that.
Right.
Until they go shoot up a Columbine, then they want to act like, you know what I'm saying? And even then, they fake security guys don't even want to participate. You know, that's a whole nother different discussion. So I don't want to get off topic here, but I think you guys get what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's integrated, it's systemic, institutionalized racism, directly overt or
Designed to keep order. Designed to keep order.
Designed to
African Americans and
Thank you.
African American males. You know, but
and how do you fix that?
that
With $30 million going into it from the $33 million, when some of that money should be deferred to social workers. Hell, they need psychologists in there. If you ask me, they need they should go back to truant officers. Those were the people who were really responsible for those troubled, quote unquote, kids to make sure that they got what they needed. Because locking them up or having a totalitarian state for our children or introducing it to them, it doesn't make sense. To your point though, Will, you know, if you take them out, it's going to be, you know, who knows what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, the same way they did with the gang chiefs. All the gang chiefs got locked up. From the vice lords to the foes to the GDs, and you see what we got out here.
That's right.
Because you took the leaders away. They're not leaders. The police officers in those schools are not leaders. What they are, they're their own gang.
you have explorers, you got caps
Oh
officers.
my God! What the hell they gonna teach, Will?
33 million is a lot.
But what they gonna
doing.
teach, Will,
They
isn't
can,
that?
they can teach civics, they
what?
can teach law civics, they can teach a lot of things to get the students to get to
I
know
wish y'all could see
them
my
and
face.
respect them.
All right.
I mean, look, taking the police out of the schools, you are asking for it. You got these schools, these high-risk neighborhoods on the west and the south side, these kids running packs. after
So
school.
let's fix
They
the
live in-
problems
they-
that happened before.
Okay, but that's not going to
school.
happen overnight.
Exactly.
You take
So
the
when do we
police officers out
start?
of
When do
school.
we start?
Wait, watch what happens.
Watch what happens. Right, we'll be forced to fix the crime.
I got to send my kids to school and there's no police. And we
We'll
already
be forced
know
to fix
there's
the
a couple of
problem.
gangbangers already there. They done had a shootout. This happens.
The same
People
way
don't
we had
understand what happens.
uprisings to get to the point where we are today.
I don't
over
want
these
to
last
uprise
3
no
weeks.
my kid, though, see?
They were put in for the wrong reason, and now it really has, it's been expounded with what they're not doing. And then, as a side note, the reason there are more police officers in our communities and in our schools is because white people are still black. You got to take a break. About these damn police officers.
Go
It did
home,
not
Robin.
work. It did not work.
We're all against you, Will.
Here's the thing, folks out in WBON land who live in the city. My coworkers live in the suburbs.
No, not true.
That's
Not
what's
true.
going on. They
Not
went to
true.
school in the suburbs.
true.
Come on, man. You know I'm
See,
born
South
and
side
raised
of
on the west
Chicago.
side.
Grass and the
South-
birds chirping and
south
everything.
side
You know,
of
hey, let's go
Chicago.
for a walk in the park.
No.
Everyone, look at the ducks.
No.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, but let's go to Jim. I'm sure Jim probably will rock with you. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Jim, long time. How you been, man?
Good, good. Just trying to, let me get speaker. I keep up with stuff, but we live in Illinois. We got a mayor and governor that think they're mightier than God. So we're suffering from the consequences.
See you, Robin. Be
But,
safe.
anyways, I was actually going to call about a few things, but there isn't much time. I want to bring up one thing. I was reading that there was Senator Blumenthal and 27 Democratic members of Congress are petitioning to be able to allow these transgendered people to compete in girls' sports. So this is evil, and how many young girls of all colors are in, high school programs, college programs, and they're women. They're not biological men, but these sick, selfish people want to take their ability to win by being competitive, and they're really men. They identify as a girl, but they're biological men, and this is evil, selfish, and wrong.
Let me
And they're all Democrats.
Let me say this to you, Jim. You know what? This is
Yes,
a
sir.
topic that I would love to discuss more in depth. You know, because we're coming up against the clock right now, but this is a
Right.
topic that me and the team, we discussed this offline. I'm going to take this up probably in a subsequent show.
That
Real
needs a
talk.
whole
That really
segment.
does, so that we can, get into the minutia and the grass on that. But Jim, thanks for the, listen, give me a call back, because we'll be on the other side, or I can put you on hold, because we're going to continue these conversations. So,
But if you want to put me on hold, I'll give you my phone or give me a call myself.
okay, you know what,
I'll give
Jim,
you
no
the-
problem at all. Listen, do me a favor, because I got to take
Yes,
this break. I am going to try to put you on hold. If I hang up on you, just call back and I got it, okay?
I got it.
All right, let's put
He
you
on
on
hold.
hold. All right, folks, this is the Kim Moore Show. We'll be back in just a second. We're going to continue this conversation.
Jim.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
Jim.
Just hang out.
All right.
with Jim.
I got
Hey,
it. I
folks,
got
we'll
it.
be back. It's the Kim Moore Show. Happy Juneteenth. www.von.com, 591-1690. That is the number to connect. Of course, it's the Kim Moore Show. Hey, what's the matter? What happened?
What's happening with you?
You good?
Oh, yeah, it's Juneteenth.
I'm just saying.
excited.
I'm
It's
looking
Juneteenth
around. I'm
weekend.
It's Juneteenth. No doubt.
It ain't just Juneteenth, it's Juneteenth weekend. It's a Friday.
Yes.
You turn up all weekend.
All weekend.
Don't get crazy.
Like
But
celebrate
you
it the
turn
way we would celebrate 4th of July.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
But
right.
you know,
Sandy.
you
No,
got
no.
people saying slaves weren't really free on Juneteenth. They were free on January 1st, or they were free on
Yes.
December 6th. Like, so what? Like, there's so much of our history that we
Right.
do not know. The
Right.
fact that black people are coming together to celebrate our freedom at all,
Right.
celebrate it. And
Celebrate
stop,
that, right.
Stop trying to mute everybody just because they don't know all the facts of history. Our history
Right.
was erased, a lot of it. So let them have their time and celebrate the culture.
Let us have our
Exactly.
We're not even there yet. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Exactly.
And we already have internal fights with other
Struggles,
blacks.
yes.
Struggles, right?
Misunderstandings.
To your point, you know you got people. I done forgot my damn.
That's okay.
you know what
We
I'm
have
saying?
misunderstandings, struggles with each other. You know, the thing is, we must understand, regardless of your political and social affiliation, we are all one unit. We must move
Yes.
as a unit. You are black. You're Republican. You can be a Republican. You're a Democrat. You can be a Democrat. You can be a libertarian. You can be a socialist. But understand, we move as a unit. If we move as a unit, we will get what we want and what we need.
Racial justice.
That's what it
Period,
comes down
point
to.
blank. You know what I was thinking? Real talk. So they're asking, when I say there are groups, because everybody has their own little segment they move in, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there are groups who are for, tearing down statues of past slave owners.
Uh-huh.
Christopher Columbus is,
Yes.
that's a huge point of contention here in the city of Chicago,
Right.
because other cities have torn down Christopher Columbus,
Yes.
but Mayor Lightfoot does not want the one here in Chicago torn down. That's a whole nother debate. But
I kind of agree with her on that.
will see what I'm saying.
Will just trying to.
Okay, hear me out.
We're about to get canceled.
I'm a
Will is
conservative
about to
crap.
be canceled.
Oh my God, Will,
I don't.
what
Hey,
the
I'm a
hell?
conservative crap. Listen to me on this. If you erase all the bad things that happened to you in the past, you will not remember.
I feel you on that.
And then it happens again.
I
History
feel you on
repeats
that.
itself. You know what's the one class people neglect to really reflect on in college? History. Everybody think history boring.
Our history was never
But
changed.
history repeats itself.
In high
Exactly.
school.
History
And we
is
must
boring.
remember these monuments. So this is what I'm saying.
No.
I believe we should take them down. But they should go into a museum. Don't destroy them. Because they must be reminders of what was represented to us. See what I'm saying? Don't destroy them. Don't throw them in the lake. Don't set them on fire. They must be in a museum. So when we go to the museum, we can say that Robert, what's his name? His last stand, and the Indians
Robert E.
took him
Lee?
out. Not Lee, because he was for the Union. I can't remember.
Don't worry about it,
But
but
you
we
know
know
what
what
I'm
you're
saying.
talking about.
Custer, you got to remember how he fought to keep us enslaved. You have to remember that stuff.
Here's my thing. They want to tear, and rightfully so, anything that purports hatred, racism, and
I agree.
is a
That
reminder
glorifies it.
and glorifies
Yes,
it.
right.
You got all of these tiki torch carriers who were out in,
That's right.
I forget,
Yep.
trying to protect that symbol, those symbols, those statues, all of that. here's my thing. If we're gonna tear it down, we gotta tear it all down. And if we're gonna tear it all down, we gotta tear down the damn White House too.
Tear it up.
Well,
Hey, but there
we
it is.
reformed the White House, but listen to me.
Real talk,
when
though. I know y'all ass
When
got big,
Rome
but like
ruled the world,
I'm
when
telling
Rome
you.
ruled the world before it fell, or after it fell, it took 200 years almost in the Renaissance for people to start discovering the statues and everything that Caesar had put up, and all the Caesars had put up. They were buried deep down because Rome had been burnt to the ground. What did they do with those statues? They didn't just say, okay, we're going to finish destroying the statue because it's an age long gone. They put it in the museum to remind them of where not to go. And that's what we have to do with it. Take those statues down. I agree with you. Take them flags down. Put them in the museum and tell the story of how not to treat people. You know what I'm saying? How not to have this attitude toward people because they're different. They must be monuments. They must be reminders. Remember, the Jews, the people of Jewish descent, they say we must never forget. Never forget.
Well, hell, America ain't gonna let us forget.
Okay.
As George
So
Floyd and his
give them
family.
to the
As-
black
as
people.
Aubrey
Let us
and
put
his-
them in a
you know,
museum
they
and let us make money off of them. So if you
not
want to
gonna-
come
they have not
and
let
see
us
them,
forget.
if you want to come to the Confederate Museum, the black people own it. We have a part of it. You pay for it. It can go into our communities. Okay, it's owed to us. It's owed to us, and they know it.
591-1690. That is the number. Well, I appreciate that comment. Let's bring some of these callers online. Netta, what you got going on? So dope. Where you at with all of this conversation?
But where we start? Are we still on the statues? What we doing?
on everything.
We know, but we ended up there because Mayor Lightfoot like, well, no, we gonna tear our Christopher Columbus down, and so I'm like, I'm a little bit confused with some of the. So okay,
Take it down, put it in the
But
museum.
Yeah,
there are
Chichi-
so many Chicagoans in history who have made an impact on this. We can have a different statue there that's not Christopher Columbus. He
Ida
didn't
B.
even.
Wells.
He didn't even.
And
discuss-
that's been in the works
yes.
since forever. So I think it's,
It
there's
makes
so
sense.
many other people. DuSable, he's got like a tiny
Exactly.
bus.
He got
A
little
bus.
tiny
Most
bus.
people don't even know
Right.
I know the
where
man
it
who put it
is.
there.
He should have the one where Christopher Columbus
I
is.
agree.
Take
And
it
there's
down.
hardly any statues or monuments of women, let alone black
Exactly.
women. So I think when we do finally get the Ida B. Wells one, I think it may be the first or one of
Right.
the very, very few.
Let
So
this be
even
a
more
new
of
age,
women.
But
that
you
we
know-
accentuate the positive, not
Will,
the
this is
negative.
why no one wants to take history in school. It is boring because it's
But they
whitewashed.
should.
Because they know that
But you
this is
should
not.
so you can
this is not the
challenge it.
It's not the
totality
truth.
Exactly.
Challenge it though. That's
so,
what I'm saying.
So if they're gonna teach it, they need to teach it all.
There are so many black PhDs like John Henry Clark who started the Pan-African movement, and I'm quite sure Dr. Umar, when he comes on, he will possibly speak about him. There are so many people. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing,
Yes.
our Chicago's very own, the Cress color confrontation theory.
Yeah.
We have so many PhDs out there who have written books. They teach at Harvard. They teach at Howard. They have taught. As Spelman and Clark. We need to get involved and read their books. And learn more about ourselves. And
do.
that's history. My son was reading my books when he was 12. I had all them books. That's why I'm a militant. I'm a little bit of a militant.
Hey,
I'm a corporate guy.
But why black people gotta
my
be
son
militant?
came
'Cause
to
they
me.
proud- 'cause we
But
proud
you
to
know
be
what?
black.
When you
You
ain't
know
being
what I mean?
treated
That's a
right,
good point.
You
when
know
you
what I
ain't
mean?
being
We
treated
know-
right, what you gonna
Automatically
do?
militant.
But my son came to me when he was 12. Said, "Daddy, these your books?" And I was like, "Yeah, these are my books." Read, and he read them. He read them all. So we need to get these books. We need to pass them down to our children because these are PhDs, black PhDs, and they did research and they earned these credentials.
We
and
do.
We should respect that.
We do.
All right, so here it is, though. Racial justice, and what were we talking about this hour before?
We were talking about
because we talk about
activism
I know.
as it relates to social
media
media
activism.
and physical activism. Yes.
the pluses and the minuses of what those look like. What's the comparison and the contrast with that.
Okay.
So anyway, with that though, is it too much Twitter fingers and not enough people in the street with this?
Has my buddy Travis, he likes to call them keyboard warriors. Shout out to Travis Brooks. I know he listening. He's like keyboard warriors. All you keyboard warriors out there bold. But you know what? I used to be out there marching, and every now and then I still do. I haven't been to any marches or anything like that. I feel like I'm doing some work here. I'm
Right.
trying to pass out what I know, but that's not to say I won't get out there. If I get invited, yeah, I'll come out there. Invite me. I'll come out there.
But this
I'm
is
just saying,
still your form of activism.
Yeah.
Everybody may not
They
need to
have
be on the
different-
front line
Right,
protesting
right.
or speaking at a podium. You can be a muralist, you can do
Right.
art, you can
Right.
do poetry, you can be on the radio. But I think part of the issue is it's almost like if it's not on social media, it never happened.
Right.
So there's a lot of people doing the work,
Yeah.
but they may not be promoting it because they out there
Right.
doing what needs to be done.
Exactly.
And so is there kind of this tension about, well, oh, you're not woke enough or you're not really doing the work because we don't see you. You haven't spoken up yet. Or, if you're a celebrity, we don't see you posting your Black Lives Matter post. But maybe they are out doing the work. Maybe they're
Passing that
contributing
bag.
money.
They're writing that
right?
check.
They're writing checks. Movements need funding. So it shouldn't be the expectation that everything you do in the movement has to be publicized, but at the same time you do need some promotion, publicity, because that's how people find out about things.
I agree. And you know what? I hope, because I was walking with a friend of mine on the track earlier this week, and he was telling me he hopes that all of these activists who are out here in Chicago and around the world, actually around the country, are signing up people to vote and get their names and stuff so that they can call them to community meetings. If you out there marching, you should have somebody out there getting your name and giving you your name and your contact to bring you to a community meeting so you can start organizing. Because I'm more of an organizer. I'm
Yeah.
not an
Spoken like a
activist.
true
Yeah.
campaign manager.
But I'm an organizer. That's
Yeah.
what I do. It's a difference. Activists see a situation and they go out there and they shout and do their thing. For organizers, bring people together to solve the problem. It's the difference.
And even what we're doing now, like Kendall, you've got your Juneteenth shirt. I'm assuming that was made by a Black person.
Absolutely.
My shirt for the culture, made by a Black person. That's a form of activism, supporting our Black.
My shirt was made by Chinese.
You know what? You know what?
The Asians. Yes.
Buying Black, supporting Black. That is a form of activism.
Okay. All right.
But everybody's just like, yeah, well, yeah.
Right.
No. So
See how I shock them. Everybody see how I shock them.
speaking of activism, let's talk about Beyonce and her demand and justice for Breonna Taylor.
Okay.
And that officer finally has been charged.
Yeah.
Finally.
But and this is why we celebrate Juneteenth and we lump it all in with one for the blacks.
Right. right.
Give us that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But activism. Beyonce using her seat,
Her
to
leverage.
her leverage with her stardom to get an agenda, get something done and accomplished, get a call to action done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Look, I just hope that after this is,
It ain't gonna be
after we
over.
go long
Right.
with it, that we need to not let people forget. Everybody's out here marching now and having a great time. And we together, we kumbaya. But this is something, us as Black people in particular, we should not forget this, and we should make sure others who want to contribute funding to us all of a sudden, and I'm not against it, I want my check, send me my check, but make sure they don't forget, because Black people have made the infrastructure in this country, not just from slavery, but after we left slavery, man, the inventions that was made.
Yep.
George Washington Carver,
Yep.
A Black woman made the air conditioner.
The
Black woman made
culture we've contributed.
we have contributed economically, socially. We did it, and we deserve it.
Capitalism was built on the
And
back
and
of blacks.
And Black people couldn't
Absolutely.
own patents. We didn't have no money. See what I'm saying? But Thomas Edison, the father of electricity or whatever, everybody know George Washington Carver
Didn't he
was working
have?
for him.
Didn't Edison have? I
He
thought
had
he
George
had.
Washington Carver
Yeah.
working for him.
Yeah.
George Washington Carver was the father of
He
the
was helping
manufacturing
Ford.
line.
He was helping Henry
Yeah.
Ford.
I got an
Henry Ford,
MBA. It's an
absolutely.
operations degree, and what it does is like for a manufacturing line. How does the work flow?
Yep.
He is the father of that, a Black man. So when you go to school and get an MBA in operations, George Washington Carver was the father of that. He actually wrote the actual operations line, the manufacturing line. He did that.
But when we talk about history repeating itself, it's commonplace right now in corporate America, in every vein of America, right?
Right.
And what I mean by that is you got to have a white person sign off on you. I don't care how many.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, it is something wrong with that, Will, because that means that we don't have our own. There is absolutely something wrong with that. If every step that you take in your life needs permission by a white person, there's something wrong, inherently wrong with that. That's why people are marching right now.
Right.
That's why people are snapping. That's why the younger generation, they're not even listening to us. They're like, we've looked at what y'all have done, and you guys have failed miserably. But to your point, I'm going back to what you just stated. With all of the PhDs, MDs, et cetera, I'll use the state of Illinois just for a prime example. You have a black lieutenant governor, woman. You have Tony Preckwinkle, who is the board president.
She's county board president.
County board president. You have Lori Lightfoot, who is damn mayor of the city of Chicago. You got Kim Foxx. You got black state senators. You got Lightfoot downstate. You got Emil Jones III downstate. You got everything. We got a black police commissioner, and we done had that for the. So what am I saying? What am I stating? Even with them, with all of that black power, hands up, right? Even with that, look where we found ourselves at.
Right.
Even with that, before George Floyd,
Right.
you didn't have this marching. They were not the ones who were doing it. Now, they would argue, well, we're doing it in our own way. We're doing it from a legislative standpoint. And, you know, I mentioned Kim Foxx, but I really think that Kim Foxx, she's doing what she's supposed to be doing.
Shout out to Kim Foxx.
Big shout to Kim. But my point is, they still need somebody to sign off on them. Anybody in their campaign, they got to run for office. You can best believe those people who fund them to run them offices. You can tell.
She can hire me.
Real.
She can hire Chris Percy. She
hired
hired Chris Percy. You know Chris Percy, right?
They have to have a co-signer of another color.
Right,
and that needs to stop. That is
Take the calls before break.
All right. So listen, let's go to the phone line. Listen, folks, 7:30 coming up. Dr. Umar Johnson, he's coming on, and he's gonna light it up. I already know it. I'm waiting for him to come. He's coming on 7:30. We got him on deck right now. In the meantime, let me take a couple of these calls before we go to break. Let's start with Brother Tommy.
Hey, first of all, Kendall.
Hey,
let me try to explain this as best I can and as quickly as I can, and get off of the air. There's nothing. That's cool. There's nothing to be happy about on this day. Nothing. And as far as them charging the police officer that shot the young lady, so what? I'll celebrate when people start going to jail. Period. I'll celebrate when they treat individuals who break the law as they do all of us for jaywalking. I'll celebrate when individuals begin to recognize and understand that uninformed and ignorant Negroes are dangerous. Leastwise, you would understand why Will is saying the things he's saying about police, and Will would then understand that the first catalyst for all of this tyranny that we see in our schools today is when they took out the truant officers and the constables, and then they turned around and they gutted all the trades that was in the school. Then they turned around and they gutted PE. They turned around and they gutted music. They turned around and they gutted intramural sports between the schools. So what you got now is just a madhouse, period. And then what's worse, you're going to sit up and tell me that you got grown-ass people going off into a school with children, and you want to throw them downstairs, you want to put them in headlocks, you want to arrest them? Come on, man. Certain things are absolutely clear. And what would be known has clearly been shown for decade after decade after decade. If there was anything positive to be able to come out of this Juneteenth, it would be a consensus of all black people to recognize and understand our plight in this United States of America is based upon us coalescing, rebuilding these communities, and recognizing and understanding that nobody is coming to save us. It ain't the churches. It ain't the politicians. You just named all the stuff that you got, and ain't nothing changed in this state for black people. Nothing. Same old deal. So I just want to end with this one, because the best one of all is when I always ask, how damn dumb can you be?
Hey, well, can I say shout out to Tommy? Because Tommy told us a couple of weeks ago, he said it was a powder keg. And what happened? He was right, Tommy. You're right. And it wasn't that I wasn't listening to you. You're sitting across from Mr. Kendall Moore, so sit back, relax,
We in the building.
put your mind at ease. West Side Wheels on top to take you to your next stop during this second hour of the Kendall Moore Show. Our next guest, he is currently on the line. Yes, he is here. He is a school psychologist, an author, a lecturer, a community activist whose ideology is Pan-Africanism. Please welcome Mr. Dr. Umar Johnson. Hello, sir. How are you? What's up, black man?
Peace and black power. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I am honored. Let me say I'm honored, privileged, and pleasured. I've been watching you for quite a while, you know, and I got to say, you're kind of impressive, but you get a lot of heat, man. You get a lot of heat.
That's all right. I love the heat. I'm a Leo, August, baby.
Yeah, I know about y'all. So I know I've given people an ideal about you, but could you elaborate on that a little bit more, doctor?
Certainly. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. As you said, I'm a certified school psychologist, certified school principal, founder of the National Independent Black Parent Association, author of Psychoacademic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD War Against Black Boys, and next month, my second book, Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for Dealing with America's Racist Public and Charter Schools, will be coming out as well. Blood relative of the great Frederick Douglass and former Minister of Education of Marcus Garvey's UNIAACL.
Well, I got to tell you, that is quite a pedigree, sir. Now, you know, you are in many ways very controversial. I don't think you're really controversial as people think. I think they take you out of context. But what do you say about people? What do you have to say about people who kind of disagree with some of your philosophies as it relates to let's say homosexuality and your political stances?
Yes, sir. I would say that my goal whenever I speak or engage the community is to make people think. My goal is to motivate original thought, deep critical analysis. It is not to create robots. So I guess one of the biggest misconceptions is that I go into a conversation hoping everyone will see my perspective, which is not the truth. We as African people suffer from the paralysis of analysis. We do not use our minds. So even if you disagree with everything I say, if I forced you to use your own intellectual apparatus for once, then I have succeeded.
Okay, so let me ask you about that. Do you think that people have that paralysis because of maybe the white authority that may be in their minds? Do you think they have a white authority complex?
That's the overarching principle of mass religious indoctrination through the Black church, mass public school indoctrination through Chicago public schools, and then mass social indoctrination through the media, as well as politically uneducated grassroots leaders and disingenuous elected officials.
Dr. Johnson, Kendall here. So, you know, mad love. I mean, I can't say it any other type of way. And peace and blessings to you, man. I rock with you hard, real talk, and that's those are facts. We're celebrating Juneteenth right now. You know, I'm looking at the TV as we talk right now. There's racial justice rallies that are happening across the country. Dr. Johnson, what's your take on where we are, the current state of black people right now? Like immediately, like where we at?
Honestly, in my honest, humble opinion, I believe this is a rerun of the Barack Obama administration. And what I mean by that is that the election of Barack Obama delivered absolutely no gains to African American people as a identifiable political constituency. It was a lot of hype. It was a lot of hoopla. It was a lot of illusion of inclusion politics, but nothing materialized for us. And I'm afraid that the 2020 Black Protest for Justice is sadly marching down the same road. And I say that for three reasons. Let me first say that I'm proud of those brothers and sisters who took to the streets. Had they not done that, those police who murdered our brother George Floyd would have never been arrested. Officer Chauvin would have never had his charge upgraded to first-degree murder. This conversation about police genocide would not be happening. So, yes, they were necessary. Yes, the protests were relevant. And I'm proud of those brothers and sisters who engaged in those protests across the country. But with that being said, there were mistakes made, and the biggest mistake was that we allow white folk to infiltrate and dominate the body of the protest. Those protests should have remained exclusively black, and the reason for that is because now our narrative is being diluted, polluted, and everyone else's agenda is being included in on the conversation. I'm sure you heard about the Supreme Court decision the other day that said the 1964 Civil Rights Bill protects the employment of LBGTs and homosexuals. No disrespect to them, but Dr. King and our ancestors did not march for that. They marched for us. So even while we are protesting for justice, what we protested for is being extended to other so-called minority groups, and we are being ignored. Number two, isn't it interesting that after nearly 4 weeks of protest, the most massive protest in the history of this country since the 68 Dr. King assassination protest and the 1967 Red Hot Summer protest, where more than 30 cities erupted in race riots and protests. This has been 52 years in the making, and yet you have no identified leadership, you have no identified spokesperson, and there is no identified political platform. In other words, there is no list of demands that have come from Black America to the United States government. None after 4 weeks, which means the Democratic Party and the Congressional Black Caucus and opportunistic Democrats and Joe Biden and everyone else gets to dictate what black people should get as a result of the protest, because we never articulated that ourselves.
Man, say that. Say that. Yeah. I could not have said that any better. I could not have said that any better. With regards to the allies, Dr. Johnson, those...
We don't have no allies.
We don't, okay, let's talk about that. Tell me, give me
we
your
don't
position.
have no allies. Listen,
okay,
those young white kids who are out there protesting, they're not out there for Black Lives Matter. They're out there because they were quarantined in for months. They have lost their jobs. They didn't get their stimulus checks. They don't agree with their president, and they don't agree with the direction that their nation is taking. Had we not been on a COVID quarantine, you would have not seen that many white folks involved in the marches. It was not for black life. It was for disagreement with their government.
That's definitely an interesting perspective.
Definitely. I agree with him. Well, Dr. Umar, that aside, let me ask you, what do you specifically have to say to, because I have gotten a lot of texts in my DMs from my LGBTQ brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? And they are really upset. They disagree with you on some things. What do you have to say to them? What do you want to say to them? Because they seem to think that you are anti them, and that you are hateful toward them. That's what they seem to think.
Yeah, it's what they seem to think, but that is not the truth. I became a psychologist because I wanted to help black people and all people feel better about themselves. That's why I became a psychologist. I do therapy, have done therapy with LGBTQ members, and I have no issue doing therapy with them. My disagreement with them is not personal nor emotional. It is political. What do I mean by that? I love all African people, whether you are gay or straight. I can sit down and have a conversation with a homosexual brother. I can sit down and have a conversation with a lesbian sister and give her a hug and a kiss after we're done. My issue is political. I disagree with the propagandizing of the LGBTQ movement as one that is equal to the African American struggle for justice. Homosexuals were not enslaved systematically. Homosexuals were never dehumanized systematically. It was never illegal for homosexuals to get an education. You cannot equate sex with race. You cannot create your behavior with my being. Here's the question that I have for them. Again, no hatred whatsoever. I entertain conversations with them. I love all black folks, gay or straight, but I disagree with the political agenda that seeks to equate the LGBT struggle with ours. And my question for them will be simply this. Can you give me one benefit? Because it's all about pragmatic political progress. Pragmatic political progress. Can you give me one benefit that will accrue to the African American community and our children with the open and free expression and propagandization of the LBGT lifestyle. Only 1 out of every 4 black women gets married in this country. 1 out of 4. If you're going to condone a movement that openly advocates that lifestyle to young children, you're going to reduce the amount of black men that are available to our women. And if you allow that, you basically have become an enemy of the traditional black family structure.
Dr. Umar Johnson is here with us, 1690 AM WVON 591-1690. That is the number to connect to the phone lines. We go. Eric, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Yes, how you doing? I just want to say that I'm a type of person that I believe in positive solutions. And what I mean by that is that we have to look at our situation from an economic standpoint and become self-reliant. Until we become self-reliant, then everything that's going on now is basically propaganda. Like, for example, taking Aunt your Mama off the syrup bottle and taking Uncle Ben off the rice box, taking the Confederate flag down the NASCAR and things like that. That's all that is just propaganda. We need to get together, put our money together, and help ourselves on one hand. And the other thing is with the educational aspect, if we bring Black history back into our schools, it would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It would teach our children about themselves and where we come from and what we have achieved, and it also will show white America what we are about, because they don't understand us, far as that goes. So
Eric, I got to let you go. We got a number of people on the call. I appreciate you checking in.
Right.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Right.
Hey, let's go to Eddie Reed. Eddie Reed, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Brother Kendall Moore, man, you got it fired up. Let me be very, very quick.
Dr. Umar Johnson is on the line with us, sir.
Yes, sir, I know that.
Okay.
So, brother, Dr. Umar Johnson, Brother Eddie Reed, you can follow up tomorrow from 2 to 4 on this channel, and it'll be the same thing. What Dr. Johnson is saying is what we in the street call the overlay for the underplay.
Feeling. Go ahead.
And what happened is, if you Big George Perry Floyd would never have been invited to a Black Lives Matter meeting. He wouldn't even been able to allow to march with them. And so there are those of us on the street who get it, and we are now moving on Black Man Stand. We are going to stand on Father's Day, and I don't want to take up your time, brother, but tune in from 2 to 4 tomorrow, 1690. We're going to pick up right where Dr. Umar Johnson left off, and brother, you're welcome to join us.
Hey, Brother Eddie, I want to say this to you. I rock with your show, and I really want to say that to you, man. You have an excellent show. All right, peace on that.
It's all about fact.
Yes, sir. Let's go to John. John, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Good evening, and good evening to your guests. I agree with him 110% on everything that he mentioned. We don't know how great Barack Obama could have been if he would have had control of the House and the Senate. He didn't have control of the House and the Senate, so I do kind of agree with you. Even if he didn't have control of the House and the Senate, it looks like he just played along to get along, to go along, and wasn't telling us everything that we need. And I do agree with him. I'm happy that the young people are out there, because this is their future. If Biden gets in there or not, if he gets in there, if he thinks he's going to have a free ride, it's not going to happen.
Understood. Thank you. Hey, so listen, let me ask you this, Dr. Johnson. Let me ask you this. When you hear these type of comments from people in support of what you are stating, how do we get people moved into the right mind frame of what really is working and what isn't working? Because the inner fighting, to me, is counterproductive. If you got black people telling other smart black people, like, I'm not right, I don't agree with that. It's counterproductive. Now you got 2 smart black people arguing with one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the answer to
Well, we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. It's only when we become disagreeable that the conversation disintegrates into chaos. We have to be able to challenge each other's opinions because contradictions have to be exposed, okay, and they have to be reconciled in order for us to move forward as a people. One of the first things we have to do is we do have to find out where people are aligned politically. Do you believe in self-determination, or do you believe we need white folks to walk around and hold our crutches for us as we move forward in this world? I mean, we got to get over that point. And something you said earlier that I thought was very brilliant when you spoke of how you have many power players in the city of Chicago, beginning at the top with Mayor Lightfoot. But here's the thing. Black votes may have put Mayor Lightfoot in the mayor's office, but it was white money that financed her campaign.
Yep.
Hence, one of the biggest mistakes we make as the African-American community. And let me be clear, voting is not the most important thing that you do in the political process. It is not. The most important thing you do in a political process is finance the campaign of the person you want to carry out your agenda. Black America never does that. We don't finance nobody. And then when they betray us, we call them sellouts. But if we never sold out first, they could have never sold out second. Finance your candidates or they will always betray you.
You are absolutely right, sir, because that's what I do, and I see it all the time. Yeah, and I agree with you. So let me ask you, Doctor, what do you think about people who say that you are going around using hate speech? Because, look, I've seen this guy, Milo Yiannopoulos, and he's for Breitbart. He stopped in 2017 for speaking for them, but, of course, he was going around the college campuses talking about white supremacy and white superiority. How do you reply to people who sit here and say that you're basically trying to dictate the same thing but on a black hemisphere?
I would ask for the evidence. I mean, let's look at it now. I have more videos on YouTube than any scholar alive, even though I don't have a channel. That speaks to the love I get from our community. People love my message so much, they upload it more than people who promote themselves. Number two, I speak around the world more than any scholar alive. I have more information out there on my perspective than any other scholar of our race in the world. Show me the evidence of hate. Me saying that the black man should only be dating the black woman, how is that hate? Me saying that the open promotion of homosexuality is going to destroy the traditional black family, that's a fact. How is that hate? When people accuse me of that, I always ask for the evidence, and to date, I have got no evidence to prove it. To make the accusation is one thing, to prove it is something else. I am a love teacher. I am not a hate teacher, but I am so unapologetically African and in defense of my people. Those who are not used to us being that strong and alpha as black males will confuse intense love with hate.
All the time. Let's go back to the phone lines. Dean, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show. Dean, going once. G, go ahead. Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Hello? G?
G?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're on.
I heard a mention of Lightfoot. And Lightfoot was a distraction in the election for Chicago mayor. It was Winkle who served at the job, and it was mostly black women who kept pushing Lightfoot because she's homosexual. So that's another issue, because this whole homosexual thing, it's mostly black women who push it. And because there are no black men with a strong spine in the household to fight against them. Homosexuality is the death of the black family. And this is the thing. Right. It's either Pan-Africanism or death. If you're Pan-Africanist, you have a certain stance you have. And also, in regard to the black situation in America, it's either repatriation or retaliation. One of those two. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Dean, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Yeah, as I was saying, it seems a lot of unintended consequences because, what Dr. Johnson is saying is that the legislation, civil rights, was intended for black people. But the opposition put in another category of people, and they put in sex as one of the categories. Now, I don't think at that point, I wasn't there, but I don't think at that point they were thinking of homosexuality and transgender. They probably were thinking about women, So women would get the benefits. But unintendedly, now that the homosexual agenda is so rampant, it now becomes applicable. So you can't fault people like the DACA people for taking advantage, because after all, it is a law. And if we're a country of laws, then we just have to follow the law. And as far as Barack Obama and what he did or didn't do, well, you know, I wouldn't want him to be a candidate for assassination before his first term would have ended. So that's my comment.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Dr. Johnson, listen, again, man, you always have a place here at the Kendall Moore Show. I
got one more thing, my brother.
No. I'm not finna let you go. I was just letting you know because we're running up against the clock. I just wanted to say that before we run up against the clock. But the floor is yours. Real talk. Go ahead.
Okay. Number one, these empty symbols that they're taking down around the country is a distraction. Okay. We don't have a problem with the Confederate flag being removed. We don't have a problem with Robert E. Lee statue being removed. We don't have a problem with Aunt Jemima changing the logo and the name and Uncle Ben's rice. But those are superficial, cosmetic changes. America doesn't need cosmetic surgery. America needs intense, organic surgery. Rip the damn heart out, rip the lung, rip the spleen. And I'm afraid that we are going to fall for these superficial changes. We don't want that. These police protests began over police accountability. Why haven't I heard a single member of the Congressional Black Caucus, Democratic Party, Republican Party, NAACP, Urban League, Van Jones, Al Sharpton, or anyone else talk about mandatory minimum sentences for police who unjustifiably execute black people? We haven't heard about consequences yet. We keep hearing about outlawing the chokehold, making police records public, giving them diversity training. We don't care about that. We want prosecutions for police who kill black people, and that conversation hasn't started.
So, Dr. Johnson, to your point, what do you think about this march or this convening that's scheduled to happen the end of August that Reverend Al Sharpton, I don't know if he's putting it together, but he certainly put the call out. What do you think about that? Do you think it will be impactful?
Empty symbolism. Al Sharpton is going back to D.C. to memorialize the 1963 Dr. King March on Washington. It's just another empty symbol. That's all black people do now. It's empty symbols. We get a Million Man March over here. We're going to march on D.C. over here. We're going to one-day protest over here. Let me be clear. We need a movement, not a moment. We need a movement, not a moment. But our leaders have gotten so politically lazy, and let us be honest, the average black person has also gotten politically lazy, that we're not interested in that protracted, everyday, sustained commitment type of a movement. We want to go to some event for one day and then go back home and then claim we struggled for black liberation.
Dr. Umar, I want to ask you, what's your stance on gun rights?
I believe that as long as guns are legal, black people better get some. The worst thing we can do is strip our people of their right to defend themselves, because guess what? These white folk, they got theirs. And them hillbillies, they got theirs. We need to be able to protect ourselves in the event of martial law, in the event that white folks are deputized to kill black people, which is something that has occurred regularly in American history. I am in total support of black people owning and bearing arms as long as it is a constitutional right.
All right, so hold on. I got to interject because I see all the hands. Dr. Johnson, we have a number of callers who are trying to get in to talk to you. I got to ask you out loud. Can I keep you over, man? Can you hold on for me?
Absolutely.
Can we get to the... Hey, everybody, so Dr. Johnson is going to stay with us. We're going to break tradition. We're gonna hold them over, and we're going to get to these calls. Don't touch the dials to Kendall Moore Show, 591-1690. That is the number to connect. We'll have Dr. Johnson, Umar Johnson, for the next, at least over, on the next hour to take the rest of these calls. Don't touch the dial. Is KendallMooreShow.com. Dr. Umar Johnson is our featured guest has been our featured guest for the last half hour, 40 minutes, and we're blessed to have him for at least another 20 minutes. I got a bank full of calls and people want to talk. So, Dr. Johnson, I really appreciate you spending some time with us here on this Juneteenth.
No problem.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to go to the phone lines and and see what people are, see where their minds are. We'll start with and what now? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Hey, what's going on, young people? And Dr. Umar Johnson, it's an honor and a pleasure to speak with you, sir. First of all, you are 1,000,000% correct. My radio name was Art, but I changed it about a month ago to And What Now? And my platform and what I believe 100% strongly in the brothers that will confess it as community codes of conduct and family values. And once we get back to community codes of conduct and family values, we'll be on point. In terms of what went on with the riot and all that other stuff, I had no problem with it. I keep telling people, if you're going to want to change, there's going to be some blood spilled in the street, there's going to be some life loss, and there's going to be some inconvenience. And the people of our time will have to give our money and our time if we're going to move forward. You continue up the good work, and may God continue to bless everyone.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Let's go to Miss Lee. Miss Lee, how are you? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Oh, I'm kind of upset, but what I want to say is, Dr. Johnson, you're the only person that I've heard on the radio, and I listen to WZON all the time, who has actually laid it on the line and said what should have been done. Whenever I see these, we have an issue in our community where our people are being murdered and hung in jail. And if you have, and I'm telling you, I'm not just talking about in jail. I'm talking about going to the police station. I had a friend of mine whose grandson got a ticket, and when he went into the police station the next day, he was hung. So there's a lot of things going on. I had two of my relatives who had two people who were hung in jail. And there's a lot of, it's going on everywhere, and we don't have statistics on nothing. Yeah. So we march with no figures. This is happening all over the world, and we're not talking about murdering one or two people. So they're talking about, the school is talking about taking some of the money from the police and for the kids. This whole issue is about murder, and these whites have been killing us for the last 100 years almost, and it's time to stop. And that's all we should be talking about, and we should make the pictures so graphic, and then it'll make the whole world cry of what they're doing to us. And it is not happening, and our leaders are not backing up the people, the kids, or the people who are protesting, because they are not doing their job. And the reason that we're in the situation we are in right now is because of no planning, no organization, and incompetent leaders. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Lee, thank you so very much for that. Dr. Johnson, let me ask you, the hangings. She brought up a very good point. 5 hangings, 6 hangings from this
last 2 weeks.
In the last 2 weeks, please expound.
I'm almost certain that those are white racist executions. I am not buying the state narrative that these are suicides.
Yeah.
Black men do not have a history of committing suicide from a tree. We have the history of committing suicide by jumping, by shooting ourselves, and other such means, not by hanging ourselves from trees. That is the state's narrative, because they don't want to open up a civil rights investigation into the systematic hangings of black people, so they're treating them as suicides.
Understood. Back to the phone lines. Pearl, how you doing, sis?
Hey, Kendall. Hi, Dr. Umar. Thank you so much for taking my call this evening. I wanted to say that, in 2016, I lost my son, Courtney Copeland, to gun violence in Chicago. And we also have, in investigating his case, we show that he was treated poorly by the police on the scene, who actually were there supposedly to assist him. And my thing is that, I see all the marches. I see everybody trying to say Black Lives Matter. And I, as a mother who has lost a child, I appreciate that. I appreciate the efforts that they're making. But what we need is legislative change in America. We need actual laws to be changed. And I don't see anyone trying to push the button further than a march. And so when Dr. Umar talked about, Al Sharpton is just trying to do symbolism, I had to call because I totally agree. I need them to get at the table and make legislative change. They don't have the same gumption as Dr. King, because he wanted laws to be changed. The only way that they will stop killing black men in America is if we force them. Economic boycotting as well as also forcing them to move the legislation in the way that we need it to go. We cannot allow just these superficial Trumpian or Democratic laws to just coddle us. We need real change in America, because today it was my son, but tomorrow it may be yours. And so this is why we have to unite together and make the legislative change. That's when I'm going out there to march, when they marching right into the law house to make a change and make them, force them. Just like Johnson said, force me to do it. That's what we need to do. Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate it. Dr. Johnson, I want to turn it.
You know what, Kendall?
Yes.
Let me add this, if I may.
Yeah.
One of the things that is making this situation more complex with regard to passing legislation and introducing hard mandatory minimum sentences for police is that it is an election year. It is an election year. And as you know, with the Democratic front runner, in this case Joe Biden, but it doesn't matter who it is, Obama, Clinton, Jimmy Carter, it doesn't matter. Whenever it's an election year, the white Democratic Party depends on the Congressional Black Caucus to help Black America mellow down their demands.
Yep.
The fear is if you force Joe Biden to promise Black America too much, he's going to lose out on the moderate white vote. So this is a balancing act. One of the reasons why Black leadership isn't pressing for more change is because they're more concerned about Joe Biden's election than the progress of Black America.
I would agree with you on that, and then I would extend it even further, and not just getting Joe Biden in, but also getting Trump out. But here's a piece about Joe Biden and Amy Klobuchar that I want to mention, and I've mentioned this to people on my show many, many times. I want to remind everybody that Amy Klobuchar was once the damn prosecutor out in Minnesota, and the very police officer who put his knee in the back of George Floyd, she was there and could have prosecuted him many, many times and did not do that. So I am happy to see that she did announce that she does not want to, basically she just became irrelevant to him, because once people found out about it, it was no way for him to win. Now, here's the other piece, too, about Joe Biden. Honestly, and to your point, Dr. Johnson, the only reason he came up is once he got to South Carolina. And once he got to South Carolina, that changed the game for him. But you are absolutely correct. And once they are done with us, we're done. And it goes back to your point yet again. We do not have an agenda. We have the floor right now, but we don't have an agenda. We have pawns and paid puppets sitting in those seats. Let me go back to the phone lines. Aaron, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Hey, I'm good, brother. Dr. Umar Johnson, I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm looking forward to you in your school, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, and particularly about, helping Black males develop. I've been watching a lot of your videos, particularly a lot of the videos when you were in the Breakfast Club. And almost like 5 years ago, you were in the Breakfast Club, there was the same thing going on with people protesting. It's like there's momentum, and then it gets quiet, and nobody's talking about it anymore. But specifically, I also think about like the mass incarceration of Black males and that revolving door and the mental health that plights our Black males. And just really kind of get your thoughts on, like, what is the solution? Like, I know right now we're talking about the police brutality, which is an important issue, but I also feel like a lot of times we kind of put the issues of Black men and the challenges that they're going through on the back burner, or never get the attention of things like this, which is really plaguing our communities. It's plaguing the Black men to be at the forefront of the family, and it's taking away our families. And so, Dr. Umar, you had any suggestions or solutions? And really just curious your thoughts in regards to that.
I think your point is 100% correct. Another negative outcome of this march being overtaken by whites is the fact that the conversation has been tightly controlled by the media and limited only to police brutality. After 4 weeks of protesting, we should not only be discussing police brutality, but the other four major issues that affect Black America, which include miseducation, mass incarceration and criminal justice, gentrification, and by the way, Chicago is top 10 in gentrification in the country, and the fifth biggest problem is access to wealth and reparations. You don't hear anything about education, access to wealth, gentrification and criminal injustice. They are keeping this thing focused on police brutality as a means of protecting Joe Biden's reputation.
Well, I'm going to make sure I mention reparations because that's what I did earlier. We need our bag, right, Doc?
We need our bag, but we need to make sure that the bag has more in it than cash.
Yep.
Because one of my concerns about the current reparations movement and the direction in which it's heading, and I don't like it, it seems like we have boiled down the entire compensation package for our ancestors to a cash payout.
Yep.
That is a trap and a recipe for disaster. Bob Johnson came out last week with a $14.7 trillion reparations proposal. According to the Bob Johnson model, former owner of BET Television, each African American who's eligible for it, the 42 million of the 50 million who are direct descendants of enslaved Africans, we would each get a $351,000 payout. If you're telling me that $351,000, which is basically a nice car and a nice house, is sufficient compensation for 20 generations of enslavement, we are crazy.
Listen, say that.
You can barely buy a house
Oh
with
my
that.
God. Well said. Listen, Hassan, you're going to be my last caller. I gotta respect the doc and the integrity of what we're doing. Hassan, go ahead. Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I will admit I only called to give accolades to the more I love the show. Two people whose cause I will always support with my finances and watching his YouTube is Dr. Umar Johnson and Dr. Claude Anderson. I've donated to your school. I've donated to Dr. Claude Anderson Harvard Institute because he's the only one who's proficient when it comes to reparations. They really want to discuss reparations, including Roland Martin, Al Sharpton, and all these other so-called bourgeoisies that's in the boule and all the other esoteric societies. Get in touch with Dr. Claude Anderson because he went to bat for us with his own money for years and years and years. So, Dr. Umar Johnson, I met you before we came to Chicago at the airport when you said I was a security guard, but I'm not. I'm a Chicago cop. And I still support you and Dr. Claude Anderson in all of your works. And please continue to do what you're doing. I'm always going to support your students. You all have a great evening.
Thank you very much.
brother.
All right, Dr. Johnson, I got to say again, I really appreciate your time coming on the show this evening. You always have a seat, and I'm going to be bugging you. I ain't going to even lie to you on a whole bunch of different things. How can let folks know how they can get in contact with you, where they should follow you at, and let's give them that information. And again, on behalf of the team, we thank you very much for your presence this evening.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. They can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson. The website is drumarjohnson.com, and we're always looking for brothers and sisters to donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Restoration Project. We have two beautiful schools in Delaware that we purchased last year, and we're now in the process of restoring those buildings. You can get on your Cash App and donate at $FDMG School. I repeat, $FDMG School on the Cash App. You can reach out to me by phone, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Peace and Black Power.
Peace and Black Power.
Peace
Appreciate
to
you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you, family.
All right. Tonight, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but he always on point. Always on point. Certainly appreciate Dr. Umar Johnson. All right, so when you hear that music, you know it is time for the big round table. Happy Juneteenth to everyone. Let me say that. But it's also Father's Day weekend.
So excited.
So big shout
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all of
Father's
us.
Day, Will.
Happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Father's Day,
Happy
Kendall.
Father's
Thank you, Westside. Happy Father's Day to you as well.
I love Father's Day.
Do you now?
I wish it was more celebrated than Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Please help me understand that, though.
I just feel like Mother's Day, people go all out. It's such a big deal. We fly, Red Lobster's packed out. But Father's Day gets turned into Single Mother's Day. You know,
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
get socks.
I'm so, yeah.
You get a bottle of Brute and a leather belt.
Right. You get a lot of people complaining
You said
about
Brute,
nice
like
tie.
B-R-U-T?
Yeah.
Brute.
And a leather belt. He'll pop in that package with the socks.
And the green, yeah.
You get a lot of people complaining about how fathers aren't around, but we should be celebrating the fathers who are around.
Yeah.
Right.
We know for a fact that there are a lot of fathers missing in homes, a lot of fathers missing in black homes. That's even more reason why we should celebrate the ones who are there. They need to be celebrated. And we need to pull out all the stops. All of them. Don't give them no socks. Rub his feet.
Yo, look here, you go get your own show. That's show talk right there. Your own show.
Let her finish, Will. Let her finish. See, she was on you were on the feet.
I'm
Continue,
so happy.
please.
Brother,
Continue,
I'm so
please.
happy.
Socks, rub his feet.
I'm so happy right now.
Yeah. Big shout to all the dads and all the fathers that are out there. And you know what's interesting about it, and I want to bring this up, is that George Floyd, now he's gone. So now how does his daughter, it's on the cusp of. Right. And then what about all of those black men who have been lost and their children cannot celebrate them? I just want to bring this up, and then I want to finish this Father's Day conversation. My wife now, when I leave the house, like literally, Nicole, she grabs me and be like, I want you to know I love you. Get home, Kimberly, and be safe. And it hits different now. It hits different now. I'm telling you. So big shout to the fathers that are out there right now doing what they're supposed to be doing for their family and their children. And there's layers to it though. Because every dad is not a good dad in the beginning. There's some guys who have kids and then they don't end up coming back into their kids' lives 20 years later, 30 years later, 5 years later. But when they get back though, I salute them. Yeah. Back to you though, Netta, because I know we no.
Back to the rubbing of the feet.
Yeah.
Rubbing, yeah. We need to celebrate.
Will got corns.
Oh, goodness.
That's all right.
Well,
Celebrate the man, though.
Everybody has gloves now, so Will, your corns are
Right.
I smell like corn
celebrate
chips.
Go get the pedicure, that's all.
And go out your way to celebrate them, not just a little funky Happy Father's Day and buy him a tie and move on. Show him on Father's Day and every day how much you appreciate that he is a good father.
Netta, are men underappreciated? Are dads underappreciated in your opinion? As a black woman, I'm asking you that question.
Absolutely, because there's this mentality that that's what you're supposed to do. And yes, that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a good father, right? You're supposed to be a good mother. But when they do it, give them accolades for that. Because there's so many people not doing it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's his role, but he's doing a good job at it, and let him know. And show him, tell him all the time, every day.
When is that book coming out? That part.
They need to know.
No, but on both ends though. Dads are extremely important in my very humble opinion. First of all, everybody doesn't get a chance to have a dad. Everyone just does not. Some who do have one do not appreciate their dads and may even take them for granted. That's what I mean by there's levels to this. But I promise you, good men are good men. And there are issues on both sides of the fence sometimes when it involves children and a man having to be a man. Let me give you a prime example of it, right? You got some dads who they can't get a job because they have a felony on their background and they haven't had a job forever, and all they can do is hustle. The hustling keeps them out of the household, and mama don't want them because mama now, she wants a corporate guy, or she wants somebody bringing some money into. Like, I'm just making this stuff up. That does not mean that he doesn't love his child any less. You know what I mean? It's just many different levels to fathers. But what really gets under my skin is that black men, especially fathers, that we have to explain ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We gotta explain what we doing and why we not doing.
Can you explain? Explain.
So the what we doing is Kendall needs X, Y, and Z. Baby, well, I don't have a job right now. I'm trying my best. Well, all I see you doing is playing Tecmo Bowl with your boys. I don't see you taking the initiative I have to explain that I took 8 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon looking for a job, being turned down, being harassed by the police. You already know when you hooked up with me what my educational level was. So I'm only qualifying for these types of jobs.
You got to wait because it's a long list and there's a lot of other people in the same position.
DACA has
you
passed.
Keep grinding.
No. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm
grinding.
doing, but I have to explain that. So now I'm feeling even less than because I got to explain to you what I'm doing. Is that like I got to report in to you, right? Instead of me being able to just share with you, like I'm not doing this on purpose.
Right.
That is what I mean by we have to explain. And then the show part is, what I don't believe it. You got to show how many. I ain't Kendall. I ain't see you lead that chair. I didn't see you do this, that, and the third. But because you didn't see me, does not mean that I did not do that, right? And so, with the unemployment rate the way that it is right now, especially in the United States of America, and particularly when it comes to African Americans, and even more so with African American men, when 1 in 3 prison, probation, or parole, undereducated, and do not have. So I don't want to be bleak, but I wanted to answer your question, Loretta. Like, there are good dudes. You know what? And even me saying that, it sounds ugly to me having to explain away. There are good men. There really are good dads and men out there, but they don't get the credit that they deserve. Right. And that's just real talk. So happy Father's Day to all of y'all. Even the video players. Happy Father's Day to y'all.
Can we make it Happy Father's Week?
Happy Father's Day. I would love that. When is that book coming out?
There
we go. There we go.
Ella Van Zant will be on next week to talk to us.
Yeah. You got some dads who are just spectacular. You know, you got dads who just in their kids' lives and they just on point all the time.
You have dads who are in other men's kids' lives.
Yeah.
So
Stepdad. Big shout out to stepdad.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And uncle, anybody who's stepping up in that fatherly type of way.
Uncle, daddy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All of that.
Now, black men, we absolutely, and this is the time for us to be celebrated. Real talk.
Right.
I'm talking about across the board. When I saw George Floyd, he had been released from, he had been incarcerated, but when they showed him talking about how he had been incarcerated and how he was trying to change his life around, he was speaking for a lot of brothers who have been incarcerated or have an X on their back, and they're trying to make ends meet. But if you got 1.2 kids or 2.3 kids, and the best thing you can do is work at a big box store, making $9 to $10 an hour when you got 4 kids, like, you can't. No, you're not going to Disney World.
Right. But statistics say that black men are actually with their kids more than any other group.
Yes, they are. They're with them, but they don't have the wherewithal to provide for them the way.
That's the thing. Yep.
It's a difference.
So that tells you something. It's like, well, why do you with them all the time? They raise them best they can, but it's a lot of obstacles that come with that. Even if you got degrees, let's not leave out people who are educated. It's a lot of black men, in particular, who are educated, and they go for these jobs and they don't get these jobs. They might be qualified, but they're not picking them. They might be matched up with somebody else who's not black, and generally they get picked first.
Well,
it's not your corporation, not your company. They don't run it. The board don't look like you. They're not going to necessarily choose you. And then you get hell once you get up in there.
Yeah.
If it's entry level or it's managerial, you get hell. Because I know this. As a black man, they watching your work, they critiquing your work. They're not even really critiquing, they criticizing it. And it's rough, man. People don't realize it. With your degree.
There it is.
I got 3.
Institutional racism.
Yeah.
And black men go through that. The sisters definitely go through it. Yeah. So if the sisters go through it, because the sisters, for folks who don't know and is listening to tonight's program, black women are the smartest people on the planet.
That's right.
They have the most education in the entire world. And probably even on Mars and Neptune. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like the sisters on point. Yep. So, and they get a lot of shade put on them. Yep. So could you imagine your counterpart You know how many black men who literally are graduating from high school and college these days who can't get a job because of institutional racism?
Yeah, yeah.
See, and it goes back to what I said earlier. Will, we got white people signing off on everything that we do.
Yeah.
Because they own it. We have to own. That's why this moment we gotta own all this shit. In order for us to hire, we talk about buy black, buy black, buy black. Hell, black, hire black.
Hire black, so I can spend black. That's the key.
You know what I'm saying? Like all of that.
I can't reciprocate if I'm not working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, black, and now that you bring up an excellent point, and I'm gonna say it again, and then I'm gonna shut up. Black men, not just from the races. We get it from all sides.
Yep.
I promise you, from the time we wake up.
Yep.
And the sisters, some of the sisters don't get it.
Yep.
You ain't strong. You ain't no alpha male. You ain't doing what you supposed to do. You know, whoa.
And here's the thing: you're trying to stop her from saying that or whatever, so you go out here and you hustle, and then you get called.
And then you get popped off.
And then you get the record with the police, and then you go to jail, and then it makes your sentence even longer because every time you get caught, you have to wait 7 years. I used to be a recruiter, so it takes 7 years. You have to go through 7 years probation.
Will,
to get a job. I
watched the movie with this person who had you. How many jobs Will had?
I was a corporate recruiter for a major airline, and I tell you, they have to go through like 7 years probation for a lot of jobs. You know what I mean? And the thing is, what you gonna be doing in them 7 years? You gotta try to get somebody that will hire you, convince them that they will hire you, and then, or somebody who will pay you under the table. 7 years, man, before you can even, try to get yourself together for making one bad decision. One bad decision.
Which is,
and then so you hustle, you get caught again, 7 years old. Now you got a second offense. See what I'm saying? So it's set up for you to fail.
And for you not to be in that household.
Exactly.
We don't even have time to talk about welfare and the 70s and all of that. We're talking about Father's Day. Big shout to the fathers. All right, Netta, back to you.
Big shouts to the daddies out there.
So when you say daddy, can we talk about that word daddy?
Yeah. But you gotta say daddy. I got a daddy. He come and cut my grass every week. I got a daddy. I need a daddy.
Please help me with that.
Some men, apparently the men in this room like that word.
Some men don't like it.
Zoomed in for that one.
It's creepy.
No, I have all my women call me daddy.
All of you.
But you said I have all my
right.
Like it's
all,
a requirement.
have and all.
But you know what? That's the terminology, like a lot of other words, that was derivative from slavery. Daddy originated in the English language in the 1600s, and what it basically means is someone on a grand level in English, Europe. So it means daddy, someone on a grand level. So of course, what happened? The English colonized America, correct? North America, this part.
Right.
They brought slaves over, and that was the terminology they used. And of course, the sexualization of it comes from this. The slave master generally had his concubines, who were what? Slaves. And rather than have them call him master, which wasn't right, he would have them call him daddy, because they couldn't call him by his first name like his wife.
Yeah.
So they called him daddy.
And hell.
And that's where all these other terms come from. The MF, the BITCH, excuse me, I know I can't say it, but I'm spelling it. The helper, those terminologies come from slavery because they compared us to animals.
You know what? Well, you making my intimate life real complicated when I'm trying to call him daddy, and I'm thinking about
and
slave
now
master.
Slavery and being raped.
Yeah,
but you can
they weren't.
I'm just saying. Now you know. See, now you're doing it with choice. You're doing it with
like,
choice.
No, I can't.
You have a choice to do it now. You have a choice to do it now. See, now you know.
God forbid if I was in an interracial relationship.
But when you know, when you know, now you have a conscious choice. See, I'd rather for you to know about it than not know about it, and you calling somebody daddy. But you call me daddy, it's all right.
No, not daddy. It's daddy.
All right.
That's all right. boys daddy. They doing this.
I'm just saying, you know, just drop my 2 cents in. That's all.
Well, a lot of people do have a problem with that. They think that I'm not your father. You can't call me daddy. But there's so many other terms of endearment that would associate with someone other than a romantic partner. For instance, baby.
Yeah.
No one has a problem calling their significant other baby. Why is daddy a problem?
Well, I mean, I think both. That's reciprocates, though. That reciprocates, baby. Reciprocates.
Well, or little mama.
I call you mama. Yeah, hey mama. Hey
right?
mama. Hey dad.
So, so you can call me mama, but I can't call you daddy. That don't make any sense.
Well, look, here's the thing. Some men
Here's
might
the
be
thing.
insecure about that if they daughter your age and they date you. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. If they date you and your daughter is their age, yeah, that might be a psychological thing with them. I don't want to call me daddy because it seems like something else. So yeah, just call me Richard.
What if we don't use?
Just call me Richard. Don't call me.
What if you?
Sweetie.
Yes.
What if we don't use Daddy? What do we use, Sandy?
I don't. Well, like the Big Papa. Like, well, Biggie. He said he loved it when you call him Big Papa.
I will not come on.
Big Papa.
I think of my grandfather when I say Big Papa.
Right.
So old.
Well, you do. You can call him an African Baba. Baba.
But see, I wouldn't call my significant like I would.
Baba.
That's something you reserve for like the elder in your community, not for the person that I'm being.
We can change it though. We can change it now, right here.
No, we can't change it.
Now he wants to change.
No,
we can change it right now. No more racist rhetoric.
Oh my God.
No more daddy, Baba.
No,
That won't be
not in the incident setting.
That will not be the change.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes it just has that creepy connotation. Like my mind immediately goes to somebody like an R. Kelly, and he's with these young girls, and you have to call me dad. Like it just.
It's a power thing, though. That was a power thing, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what woman doesn't want to be
Exactly. And if
Keyword
you go along
woman.
with it, if it's good for you, it's all right then. If that's what you want to call him daddy. Daddy. That's all right.
They act like they don't want
And
to.
WVON, this is exactly what we're talking about for Father's Day. How about that?
I'm not going to fight it.
Hey,
Don't call me that.
Brian just called. Let's bring Brian in. Brian, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show. Yeah, we got you, man. Yes. Got you. All right. Hey, Brian, I appreciate. Yeah. No, hey, Brian, I'm sorry. I got to let you go. We're going to make sure, Brian, I do appreciate you calling in. We're not talking about that specific topic at this point, but we'll make sure. I appreciate you calling in. Speaking of which, though, because we're at the 50 right now, we're going to just go ahead and rush through the 50. How hot topics. Are we finishing with the Father's Day? What we're doing? Or we going
I
to?
just want to say, man, really quick, my brother texted me and he said that you can call him daddy.
Oh, wow.
He's listening.
Brother,
if you want to call him daddy, that's absolutely okay. He's got your bread in the door.
I got to bring this up before we get off of the show. Father's Day, absolutely. How will it look, though, this year? You know, Rayel was on from Real Men Cook last week, and they're doing like a virtual barbecue type thing. But I think they got space now. I'm not sure. Now that you did the interview, what's going on with them?
I don't remember him mentioning that they had space. He did say that they were going to have the virtual
barbecue.
Yeah.
All right, big shout. Make sure y'all check out realmencook.com. Yeah, realmencook.com for the fathers for Father's Day. Colin Kaepernick. He's been picked up.
Okay.
He's been picked up by the Chargers, the
right?
Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
So they're going to roll it out very slowly,
Okay.
but he's been invited to camp.
Okay.
And they haven't been making a big to-do about that.
Yeah.
So we'll mention it first here on the Kendall Moore Show,
Hey,
as we normally do. Go ahead.
Can I pat myself on the back? Because I told you months ago, I said he's going to end up playing. It's going to take some type of phenomenon to happen, and he will play. See, because I see these things when I'm sick.
Oh my goodness.
I see these things.
So Will is psychic, and call him daddy.
And call him daddy.
Okay, got it.
Psychic daddy.
The psychic daddy
is good. I'll take it.
PD.
I'll take it.
Look at now you the police department.
Right.
No, it's befitting. No, it's befitting because you rock with the police.
Right.
That's what you've been telling us all show.
Look. All the police are not bad. And let me just clarify this. When we had our show a couple of weeks ago, defund the FOP, okay? Like I said, defund them. They get millions of dollars in grants, okay? And they put high-priced lawyers on retainers to protect these habitual offender police. Now, every policeman is not bad, but they protect these guys. Chauvin had been in trouble 4 or 5 times prior to this.
Yeah, he can't even carry a gun.
They need their funds. They are a 501c3. They're a non-for-profit organization, every fraternal order around the country. Look, you need to investigate them and make sure that they are not constantly defending habitual offenders who just take the law in their own hands and do whatever they want to. That's all I'm saying. Don't defund the police. They can allocate funds to do more in the community. The FOP is powerful. They can change all this stuff. What sense does it make for you to sit here and patrol and try to stop crime, but you can't get out there in the community and or lobby for better opportunities for people who you are out here not only to arrest but to protect? The FOP have the power to do it. They just need to change the mindset, But stop defending these habitual offenders. Chauvin, 5 times he was in trouble. He shot somebody. He beat up somebody. I know he pays union dues. I used to be a union steward, but there's some people you gotta fight. I used to be a union steward. I work in politics, man. I'm a black man. Everything ain't always right for you, but this is what I'm saying, man. Stop defending these guys who are habitual offenders.
But you know what? And I don't know how we got back on this topic because we were talking about.
It's a hot topic. It's a lit topic.
No. It is. It's a lit. We were talking about. But the reality of it is that these guys, when you really think about it, when you think about the police officers across the world, they can end a person's life.
Exactly.
Just think about that for 1 second. They have too much power. You got to take some of that power away from them. What do I mean by that? Well, if I left the station today, when I leave the station tonight, and I get pulled over, I am at the mercy of that police officer or those officers who have pulled me over. At the mercy meaning,
whatever they say, go.
Whatever they say, go. And then now I got to go into my bank account and make sure that my lawyer is paid. But if they plant anything on me, once my car is towed, if in fact my lawyer, I can't be defended properly, then I'm gone. I'm talking about at the very point of contact. That's just how much power that these people have. And many of them are racist, either overtly or they're complicit in their actions. I firmly believe, I see it, and I know it to be a fact. They are recruited by some of the right-wing groups.
Right.
And it's just a part of the fabric of who they are, which is why I really do. They need to be, dismantled some type of way. Now, speaking of the police officers, the new guy, he need to go home. Hey, whoever
He's been quiet lately. Have you heard?
I have to say,
he's been quiet since the riots in the bridge. I haven't heard anything from him.
Lori, real life, that's one that she got wrong. He should never have been in Chicago.
Did she get it wrong, or did he just realize, like, man?
No,
I didn't know
she got it wrong. No, Lori got it wrong.
Okay.
No, Lori has too much background with the Fraternal Order of Police, the police review board, and all that. She know what she was doing. Right. She went to an outsider specifically because she already knew all of the politics that was going on internally. Right. So she couldn't really get her person, which I really think she was going to go for a woman. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, but I don't think that Chicago was ready for it because of who she is and all of the backlash she would have got from that. I'm being honest. Not to say that there would be anything wrong with it, but the backlash that she would have gotten from so many different facets of the city of Chicago. But dude, he was the wrong pick.
Well, he's still here.
But he is the wrong pick.
Is there a possibility you think he's going to end up quitting or something?
Well, I think Will.
You think he's going to end up quitting?
Well, I think he headed back to good old Texas. Baby, I know Lord.
He has been quiet.
Listen, let's make that prediction on this show. Let's make that prediction on this show. I think he's headed out. What else? He don't know the streets. We Chicago. We not Texas.
Yeah.
We are. It's Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, we try different.
No, he need to go. He hasn't been. What has he done? What has he done?
Look at the layout. He's just realizing.
Man, he is not impactful at all. He not even. At least McCarthy came in and had some cojones on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, though.
Okay, but you dumping him already? He just got here.
Oh no, he ain't done that.
Hey man,
but he hasn't done anything.
You know what? I think actually a lot of people didn't like Joe Luis. Well, I like Joe Luis.
Joe, Joe was fair.
He was more professional, and that's what he was brought in to do, was try to professionalize the department more because they was having problems like this. But what happened? The police officers didn't like him. Well, hell, you're not supposed to like your boss. The boss, look, if you working for me, I don't need you to like me. I need you to do what I need you to do.
Hey, that's why McCarthy snapped on Rahm Emanuel when he got fired. He was like, "You okay? You gonna fire me? I'm gonna tell it all. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna run for mayor."
Because if I'm here to try and clean up what's wrong, you got to give me power to do it. As long as I'm not going crazy with it. But I like Jody Weese. I didn't have a problem with it. I'll be honest with you. Can I be honest with you? I didn't think McCarthy was bad. I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. But McCarthy,
he was part of the McDonald thing messed him up.
Yeah, no, he was part of the fabric though. McCarthy brought it from the East Coast.
Right. The
same thing that they were doing, what the white boys were doing in Chicago, they were doing on the East Coast.
And they didn't really like McCarthy, from what I heard, because he was from the East Coast.
Yeah.
He that East Coast Irish. He ain't no Chicago Irish. There's a difference.
Yeah, they treat you. All right, folks, we got to wrap up the show. Me and Will, it's Father's Day, so I guess
that's right. Unlit.
That's unlit. This is lit. What you talking about? This is man's show.
So man's show. We were talking about sports, and y'all went back to the police.
Yeah. Big shout, Colin Carpenter. How about that? Folks, we got to wrap up. We got to get up out of here. I want to thank again Dr. Umar Johnson for participating. Yeah. Of course, Nana Beretta, Westside Will.
What up, what up?
Wool Sweater. Also, So Dope Sandy by Anaya and Isaiah. I want to thank the entire team. I want to thank you guys for listening to us and putting up with us every Friday night. Of course, we are one show on Friday nights here in the city of Chicago. We will see you guys next week. Be safe out there. Be safe out there. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers who are out there. Until next time, and as always, church and tabernacle.
What's new?